Hi, guys. Aaron Dorr here with an update for gun owners on a new federal threat you have to be aware of, H.R. 3088. Now, I get it. In between Thanksgiving and Christmas, the last thing you want to deal with is gun control and politics and taking action against bills in Washington, D.C. But the reality is Nancy Pelosi and the radical left, they know that most Americans prefer to spend time with their families and enjoy their life in the last couple of weeks of the calendar year. And they use that as a way to try to push through garbage bills like this at the last minute when no one's watching. So I get it. No one has time for this right now, but we have to make time for it. So if you're pressed right now and can't listen to our entire video update, I understand that. Take a moment and hit your petition opposing H.R. 3088, and we'll give you all the reasons why in this video. If you have time to watch it later on, that's fine. Whatever you do, sign your petition against this tyranny. For those that have time for the backstory, here's what this bill does. Again, it's H.R. 3088. And, you know, when I think back, or I think about what it'd be like to be one of our founding fathers and for them to have a look at America today and to see what this country has become, they'd probably be horrified out of their minds. But one thing they'd probably find very reassuring is the idea that Americans today are doing what they did back in the 1770s when this nation got formed and born. We're still making homemade firearms in the comfort of our own home that the government doesn't know a damn thing about. So, of course, Joe Biden, just like King George back in the day of our founding fathers, he hates this idea because governments can't confiscate what governments don't know about. And that's the idea behind H.R. 3088. It is to make felons out of Americans who possess firearms that do not have government-mandated serial numbers on them because you made them in your own home. Now, this may be a new idea to you. You might not know that's a very, very big thing in the gun rights community, that millions of gun owners these days love making firearms in their own home. The way it works is pretty simple. You buy an 80% finished lower receiver. They call it an 80% lower. That's the street slang. That's the slang for it, an 80% lower. And you finish out the construction on that lower receiver. Then you buy the upper receiver and whatever accessories you want to have. And when it's done, you have a homemade firearm. This could be an AR-15. It could be a Colt 1911. It could be something as small as a Ruger 1022. There's hundreds of different styles of firearms you can make these days using these 80% lower receiver kits. And the whole upside here is that, number one, you can make a firearm in your own home, which is a lot of fun for guys that really are into the mechanics behind a firearm. But number two, for the freedom angle, the benefit here, again, is that the government doesn't know what firearms we own. Because if you make it in your own home, there's no need to have it registered or even have a serial number put on the firearm. Now, there is some people in the gun rights community who believe that, wow, the only people who do things like this are criminals who want to evade the law. Or they'll say crap like, if you have nothing to be afraid of, then why are you upset about having to have your guns serialized? I don't know about you, but nothing sounds like more pure American freedom than making guns in our own home that Joe Biden doesn't know anything about. And that's why they're pushing this bill, because the federal government, whether it's this president or a future president, they can't confiscate what they can't find. It's just that simple, and that is the purpose behind H.R. 3088. What it does is it makes felons out of gun owners who possess an unserialized firearm after this bill becomes effective. But it also makes it a felony for you to own tools whose primary purpose of which is to make firearms. Does it define that? No. Does it describe what that means? No. So does a lathe, does that make you a felon? Because I have a lathe in my workshop. I don't know how to use it very well, but my family and friends use it. Does that lathe make me a felon? How about a CNC machine? I don't have one of those in point of fact. Does a CNC machine make me a felon? Both of those items can be used to make gun components. Does that mean then I have to get rid of that or face felony charges? You see, nobody knows because it's up to the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, to decide. That's all this bill is. It's nothing to do with stopping criminals. Its exclusive purpose is to demonize, terrorize gun owners and make felons out of us so that Merrick Garland and the hostile Department of Injustice can come along and put us in prison. That's it. So take a moment, sign your petition immediately telling your congressman to oppose this garbage legislation. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, isn't this already being dealt with right now via executive orders? And it is. Biden has already addressed this issue via executive action. It's been drafted by the ATF. It's had its public comment section, and it may be implemented as early as February or even late January of 2022. But the way this works is when these things are challenged in court, and it, by goodness, will be challenged in court, one of the things that the courts look at is what is the will of the people, and they find that by the will of the Congress. And in fact, this bill addresses this in the opening page of the bill. It talks about the authority that Congress has on this and how the ATF can regulate these component parts, but the purpose of this act is to give clarity and strengthen that authority. They know if the Congress takes no action on 80% lowers, it's a much higher chance that the courts will strike down Biden's tyrannical, unconstitutional executive order, which outlaws them. And so your action is vital right now because we may still be able to stop this order from taking effect, and we may still challenge it in court, and it's much easier to challenge if the bill has not passed the Congress. So take action, guys, and sign your petition right away. Again, some people would have you believe that the only people who want to have unregistered or unserialized firearms are criminals or people who want to hide things from the government. I've got no problem holding up my hand and saying, you're doggone right I want to hide what I own from the government. The government has no obligation, no right to know what firearms we own. That is the definition of being an American, that we own firearms, we own the tools we need to stop criminals and tyrants. That is the definition of what it means to be an American citizen. So we are all in favor of stopping this legislation, and we don't care at all what anybody says about how we're trying to in some way, hide things from the government. They have no right to know what we own. Now, I'd also say this. We have to be careful that we don't give anybody these days in D.C. the benefit of the doubt just because of their party affiliation. Just a couple of months ago, we had Republicans in mass in the House betray gun owners and betray our military as well when they voted yes on H.R. 4350. This bill puts red flag gun seizures into the military via the annual budget to fund the military's operations for the next fiscal year. And again, over 100 Republicans voted yes on this, putting red flags into our military. That fight goes on right now in the Senate, but the point here is pretty obvious. We cannot trust the weak-kneed moderates who are currently in Washington, D.C. to do the right thing and vote no on this just because of their party affiliation. They need to hear from you. For many of them, when they hear the phrase ghost gun from a leftist media outlet, or they hear a caucus staffer say, well, this bill, this language is designed to stop criminals from possessing unregistered firearms, these people are so dumb and they're so weak, they may very likely vote yes on this bill, having no idea what's really at stake. So please, again, sign your petition. Tell your congressman under no circumstances are you okay with any bill that makes it a crime to make firearms in our own home. This cannot happen in this country. If it does, that's it. If the government has a complete list of what guns we own, we all know what's going to follow from there. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will happen. That is the course of human history. We have got to stop this bill. Take action, guys. Sign your petition. Renew your support in this organization so we can fight for you in 2022 and share our content. Thank you.